The Mishnah continues, or the Brisa continues. So we're going to read the Brisa again and continue on. Tanu Rabbanon, the rabbis taught us. Abechor noitel pishnayim bezrol achayim v'keva. That's what we learned. Talk about makiri kuna, shtar v'chayavon, matana shlu v'gum udamya. How does it work? And a lot of back and forth on it. Ubemugdoshim. The Bechor takes a double share in Mugdoshim. What is Mugdoshim? Mugdoshim means sacrifices, sanctity. Certain pieces goes to the Kohen. We had Zrol Echayim V'Kriva. But there's also the Echayim V'Kriva. The Kohen gets it by a chulin. Mugdoshim is sacrifices. The Kohen gets shares from the sacrifices. If it's not korban oilo, for example, it's korban shlomim, so he gets the chazeh, what? Tegdesh. He gets parts of it. So those parts that he gets, the firstborn son gets a double share. Or if it's his own korban. ובשבח ששבחו נכסים לאחר מיס הזמין. And benefit of assets that became more benefit, or I would say the word shvach, added value after the death of the father. Keitzad, what's the case? הניח להם אביהם פורו מוחכרס ומושכרס. ביד אחר, the father died and he left them a cow, which is leased or rented in the hands of others. Or the cow was gazing in the fields. V'yoldo, and she gave birth. Bechor noitol pishnayim. The firstborn son takes a double share. See here, we have a big machlokas rishonim. This is what we're going to deal in the next few days, the next week. What is the case and what will be the law? What's the case in the Mishnah, in the Brisa, and what will be the law? It says, the father left him a cow, muchkeres u'muskeres v'adachei. Or the cow was gazing and she gave birth. The giving birth refers to the first part too, or it's two different things. One is rented or leased, and you talk about the money of the rental and the lease. That's a subject. That the firstborn son will get a double share in the rent money or the lease, or the money that came from the lease. Or the separate case, that the cow was gazing in the field, and she gave birth, and the firstborn son gets double share in the baby that gave birth. But the first part, Poro Muchkeres and Muskeres, so it says in the Brisa, the Bechor notel pishnayim. However, but bonu botim v'notu kromim. If they build houses or they planted vineyards, and a Bechor notel pishnayim, the firstborn son does not take double share. This is the Brisa. All this is the Brisa, is Tosefta in Bechoros chapter Perikvov, chapter 6. Comes, I'm reading now the Rashba. Bechor ben Kohen, the firstborn of the son of a Kohen. Noitel bezrol chayim bekevo pishnayim. The Kamar Meforish, the Gemara later on will explain it. Ubemugdoshim, sanctifying animals. The Kamar Meforish, later on the Gemara will explain what is it. Sheshbachu me'atzmon ketzad, that they became added value by themselves. What's the case? Iniach, he left them a cow. Muchkeres lemachzischa. The cow is leased for half the price, half the reward goes to the one who got the lease, and half it goes to the owners. Muskeres means bedover kotsu, something which is cut. Azman ploini until a certain time. So muskeres means rental. It's rented with a set money. What?
Set price.
Set price until zman ploini, until a certain time. Or the cow, it's eating be'efer. Be'efer was achu. Achu means the field. The lechosa mezoini, that the owner is not losing any money to feed the animal. Animal has a free gazing, free grass on the fields. Because they come on like later on. So all those cases, V'yoldo, and she gave birth. B'chono to b'shnayim. And she gave birth. Her firstborn son takes a double share. So simply, since Rashi divided the three cases, and he separated V'yoldo from Mukeres, Muskeres, Efer, you can infer that Rashbam is learning that all those three cases is talking about the baby. V'yoldo v'chol b'shnayim. B'hai vlad, and this baby, if firstborn gets a double share. Or since v'shvocha d'imeilu, since it's a added value that it came by itself. V'domi, this is similar, keilu uchzak bo'avin, as if the father was holding on to that. So that's why the firstborn son gets a double share.
Because this is mimele. It's not atzmo. Mimele have to say kilo muzah. Everything around it. Shavchu ma'atzmo, you have to say kilo muzah.
Giving birth is by itself.
Mimele has to be kilo muzah. The other things you have to say that. The case of shavchu ma'atzmo, you don't need it. Because it's part of the thing itself.
Yeah, but why the Rashbam didn't explain the rental? The muhkeres, the lease and the rental, we didn't talk about. There's also shvachad b'meila. He just explained v'yoldo b'chol b'shnayim b'hai vlad, olin v'shvachad b'meila v'dom b'kilo b'avir. What about the schirus and chakirus? What about the rental money? It seems to be from the Rashbam that we're not talking about rental money here. We talk about different situations that the animal is at, or it's in the hands of others. Or it's in the hands of others. You don't have to spend money on it in the hands of others because there's a lease or rental, or it's in the field. You don't have to spend money on it because it eats by itself. All of that, when it gave birth to a baby, this is called shvocha d'imele, and it's as if the father held it, kemuchzak domi, and therefore bechol gets double share in it.
And shavchu matzah doesn't go on anything else.
No, nechosim, ubeshvach sheshovchu nechosim nachnis avim. How shvach? By muhkeres, muskeret, and rabach, the baby came out, and then it's called shvach d'imele. Then it's as if the father's holding it.
I thought about all of them thinking about a baby. No, it's a stam. Shavchu matzah tum sa'arot, they more basso.
Right.
No, not because who's this talking about?
Look in the Ritva, open the Ritva. Now we're starting a new sugya. So I read the Rashbam. I wanted to quote the Ritva that quotes the Rashbam. So we read the Rashbam. The Rashbam seems to be saying, if you look carefully in the words, the Rashbam breaks down the case to three parts. It says muhkeres lemachzischad, half the price, half the gain goes to the balabait, half to the one who got it. Muskeres is a set price. Dovo kotsu adman poini. What? What are you saying, Yossi? Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught us. Abechol noitel pishnayim. Firstborn son of a Kohen takes a double share bezroch haim v'keva. This is what we learned last week, 2 weeks ago. Umukdoshin means sanctify animals. Zroch haim v'keva is bechuli. Mukdoshin means a sacrifice. That's, for example, shlomi. Shlomi has a certain parts that the Kohen eats. and he died, and he gives it to his firstborn son, and he gets a double share. ובשבח ששפחו נכסים לחמיס הזוויר. The Mishnah makes a rule. All assets which added value after the death of the father, they get a double share. Firstborn son gets a double share. Ketzah, what's the case? הניח לו אל אביהם פרו מוחכרס. The father left the family a cow which is muhkeres. Muhkeres means a lease. It's a half percentage. The Rashbam says muhkeres lemachzi schar. Half the money goes to half the reward gets, half the wage goes to the master, and half to the one who rents it. Gets it as a lease. Umuskeres v'adacherim, or the cow is being rented in the hands of others. So now the cow is not in the hands of the father when he died. So it's a roy or muchzak. No, it's considered muchzak. Or the animal was gazing in the field, eating grass in the field. Now the field in one hand is not in the hands totally of the master, of his father, of the father of the Kohen. But on the other hand, it's nobody else's domain. It's gazing grass in the field. You're not spending money to feed her. V'yoldo, and she gave birth. Grazing. V'yoldo b'chol notel pishnayim, the firstborn son takes a double share. Aval bonim botim and not ukromim, but if the children planted, they built houses on the land the father inherited them, or they plowed vineyards on the land the father inherited them, and bechol noitel bishnayim, the firstborn son doesn't take a double share. This is the price. Up till here is the end of the Tosefta in Becholos. The Rashbam breaks down the case of the Mishnah to three cases. Let's see. Bechoil ben Kohen noitel bezroya pishnayim nekam meforish lo. We'll explain later on what's the case. Sheshavchu me'atzon keitza. If the assets added value, the benefit from themselves, he gets a double share. Keitza, what's the case in Niach, etc. Now the Rashbam breaks down the case now to three cases. Muhkeres lemachzischal. Muhkeres means it's a lease for half the value. The balabai gets, and they get half. Muskeres is rental. The double kotsu is set money. Adman employed until set time. So I'm giving you 12 months with a set money. Per month, money per month. Every month 1,000. Okay. Be'efer, achu. What does achu means? The field which has grass. What? Pasture. Deloi chasre mezoine. You know what grass mean? Grass, there's grass everywhere there. Deloi chasre mezoine. They're not missing any feeding. They're not missing any food. Can they come on? So basically, the father or the children have to take care of it. V'yoldo. Now, it's a separate dibur, amatchil v'yoldo. V'yoldo goes on where? On all three cases, or in the last case?
The last.
What?
Pashas only the last.
The pashas of the way it's written in the Braisa. But the way the Rashbam broke it down, is Masha goes on all of them. Look at the Rashbam. The Rashbam didn't say be'efer v'yoldo.
Be'efer is a different case.
No, but v'yoldo goes on all three cases?
No.
Or in the last case?
Only the last case. Only the last case.
So why you broke v'yoldo from efer?
A different case.
It's the same case. Oy shoy soroye be'efer. V'yoldo.
He says kelekamo. All the Lord calls it kelekamo. You have to explain what is be'efer mean.
No.
And then he explains.
No. Kelekamo goes under the chosr hazoy. Be'efer be'achud doloi mechasr hazoy kelekamo. The Gemara later on says that they're not missing mezoinos. That's what it says.
So you wanted to explain what it means, be'efer. What does be'efer mean? Efer means Efer means sack be'efer.
Ashes.
Ashes. Efer means achud. Now he explains V'yoldo.
Okay. V'yoldo, as she gave birth, B'choinat u'b'shnayim, the firstborn gets a double share. B'hai vlad, and this baby, Oil v'shvocha nimelo, since as a shvach by itself. V'domi, this is similar, ki'ulu uchzak ba'avim, as if the father was holding it. Aval, bon, next Rashba. Aval bonu botim. Comes the Rashba and says, the ay shvocha l'dei soimim atzmamu. This benefit of the land, added value of the land, came from the Yisrael themselves, because they built houses or planted vineyards. The shvocha de atzmo, the shvach came through the Yisrael themselves. V'lav l'mimeil is not by itself. Lo yikashokil b'shnayim, he doesn't take a double share.
Even the kaka helps.
But if it wasn't for the planting and building of the houses, it wouldn't be added values. The added value came from the work of the hands of the Yisraelim. So it's not mimela. So therefore, it's not mimela. The firstborn son doesn't take a double share. You only get the double share something that can come by itself from the father's sweat of his eyebrows. Yeah, the cow, we owned the cow. The cow had babies. You had a cow, and so that's shvach, added value came by itself. So the firstborn son gets double share. Let's see now the ritva, which I asked everyone to. Oy shoy soroya be'efer v'yoldo b'chonot b'shnayim. Piresh Rabbeinu Shmuel. Who's Rabbeinu Shmuel? Zal, who knows who's Rabbeinu Shmuel?
Rashba.
The Rashba. So the ritva and Rabbeinu Yoino and everybody quotes the Rashba. What the Rashba says. Piresh Rabbeinu Shmuel Zal. The chik toni v'yoldo. When the Braisa says that she gave birth, afilu amuchkeres umuskeres kol. It goes not only to Roy Ba'efer, that she eats grass in the field, also goes on rental and lease. Loima to tell you, Shim Yoldo, if the cow gave birth in all different types of situations. One is she's rental, she's a lease, or she's just gazing in the field. To tell you loima. Shim Yoldo, if all those cases the cow gave birth, noitel bechol bishnayim bavlodos. The firstborn son gets a double share in the children. Ali ben Rebbe kointerem. You have to learn the Gemara a little bit later. The Gemara brings down machlokes Rebbe and Chachomim, and shvach de mimele is considered muchzokona. The Rebbe holds it is muchzok, and he gets double share. And Chachomim holds no. So what does the Rashbam basically says? The Rashbam is saying that giving birth to a baby refers to not only to the cow eating grass in the field, it also goes on what? On other cases of rental and a lease and a rental. We're not talking about the money of the rental, the money of the lease. We're talking about the baby that was born while it was a lease and rental. This is the way he learns in the Rashbam. If you look in our Rashbam, I don't see it. You only need two options. Or there was first print of the Rashbam. Our Rashbam is a second print. or from the fact that the Rashbam divided to all those cases, I was trying to push. He divided to Shofchu, Muchkeres, Muskeret, Be'efer, and then V'yoldo. They understood that V'yoldo goes on all three. Okay. Comes the Ritva and he says, V'chen Mochiach Lefoneinu. If you're going to learn the Gemara later on, it will be proven that the giving birth to a baby goes on all cases. If you learn the Gemara later on, it's Muchach. What is more? We didn't learn it yet, but when we read it now. Mide Parchino, and since the Gemara later on asks, once the Braisa told us that lease and rental is considered muchzok, that the firstborn son gets double share. The Gemara asks, Amai Toni Roy Be'efer? Why do you have to tell me that she's eating and she's gazing a grass in the field? It's not needed. That's the Gemara's question. From this question we understood Alma. We can infer from this Bechodo Gavle Ayrit Arvai. In one case, we dealing both of them. Both of them dealing one case. Not one is rental and one is babies. All is babies. All giving birth to a baby. Okay. So it's proven for the Gemara. The Ritva holds, or what the Rashbam holds, is proven for the Gemara's question right away, which we didn't learn yet. Okay. But he has a kasha. How do we know that? Umiu kashalo. However, it's a question to us. Menole le Talmud ha. How does the Gemara know that muchkeres and muskeres is not the rental money, rather it's the babies? And therefore we have a question. Once we send muchkeres and muskeres, the baby belongs to the firstborn. Surely, if it's Roy Be'efer. The Gemara gives an answer to that. But who told the Gemara to learn like this, the Braisa? Maybe he learned the Dosefta. And when it says muchkeres and muskeres, mayri nianaschirus, we talk about reference to the rental. V'achakirus and the reference to the lease. She'ito ba b'choy pishnayim, the firstborn son will take on the lease rental, or on the rental take double share. V'roy ve'ebe'efer, and if the animal will gaze in the field, Linyan Vlodo is not true. The last part is babies. Roy be'efer is babies. But the first part, let it be chakir and schirus, let it be reference to the schirut, reference to the rental money. V'chiktoni ve'yoldo, when it says in the end of the list, and gave birth, aro be'efer belechut koi, it goes only on the animals gazing in the field, alone. Simple question, right? The Rashbam is very, the Rashbam says, I have to say so. Because we see the Gemara later on's question, must be the same case. But really, I don't understand why. What's bothered the Gemara to explain the Braisa in a simple way that muchkeres and muskeres is a separate case than Roy Be'efer? Instead of saying there's one case and ask a question, it's not needed, and wants to give answers. No, there's two different cases. One is rental and lease money, and one is babies. So he answers the Rashbam. Where, according to the Rashbam, how does he get that are two separate cases? This is all Ritva explaining the Rashbam's Shita. Yeshloima, there is the answer. The im ken if so. Amai ktoni muchkeres umuskeres. He says the whole first part of the Braisa is not needed. Why is mentioned rental or a lease? What do you mean why? See, now he spells it out. Why, if muchkeres and muskeres goes on the money, or a separate case, it's not needed. Why? If the Braisa wants to, Tosefta wants to teach us that when the mother is rental or leased, you take from the fatness of the animal, the shvach of the animal. If that's true, afilu rabonon moidu. The Gemara later on says that this Braisa is a machlokas Rebbe and Chacham. Okay, This Braisa is an argument to the Rebbe and Chacham. Our Braisa that says a firstborn son gets a double share is according to Rebbe. But according to Chachamim, he does not get a double share. It says not true. If the pshat is that the animal gave fatter, became Patima. You know what's Patima? Patima is the name of the daughter of Muhammad. But really, it comes from the word Patum. No, really, that's her name was, Patima. But Patima also means, why are you laughing? At least you have to start with a joke.
The fat lady thing.
Right. Patima comes from the word Patum, fat. Means it became fat. In the Arab days, were very poor, so a fat lady was a nice and rich. Was a nice name, Patima. Until today, all the Arabs, they call the wives and the kids and the daughters Patima. Really? Anyhow, Eve is going to take double share in the Patima, in the fatting, added fat of the animal, v'shvocha the behemoth, in the added value of the animal. Afilu Rabbanon Moidu, even the rabbis admit, it's just like the Gemara gives later on a case that everybody agrees to, even Chachomim, that you get a double share. If the decker means that the palm tree became alim, became strong and big and tall and fat. Everybody agrees he gets that added value, a double share, because it's not considered roi, according to everyone, as muhzak. Although it's not muhzak, he wasn't here when the father died. But naturally, it's going to be male, a natural thing will grow. So therefore, everybody agrees he gets a double share. So there cannot be that the Braisa we're talking about muhkeres and muskeres means the fat, the added fat of the animal. Because there's no machloikas about it. And now Mishnah is supposed to be a machloikas, only Rebbe and Chacham. And this is the punchline. Vi bezuzei. And if we talk about dineros, you know what's dineros? Rio. Dinero, Rio, dollar, euro, right? Batin, what's batin? In Thailand, it's batin. The bezuzei deschirus, and if it's money of rental, or the chakirus, or a lease, if so, ainu milveh. He says, if chakirus and schirus talk about the rental of the money rental of the schirus and chakirus, so this is the case of a loan. You hear this, Meilech? Says, when I have a cow and I rent it out, and the father died. He had a cow and he rented it, the father died. He says the money's being owed to him. It's like a loan. You use the animal, you owe him money. It's a loan. Im kein ainu milveh. So what if it's milveh? The ochel oire Rebbe binyan milveh. Our Braisa, the Tosefta is according to Rebbe, and the Braisa is not talking about milveh alone of Rebbe. The im kein, if we're going to say the Braisa is talking about a loan, Avra Neima Be'edia, the should have said, instead of saying the money talking about rental and lease, should have said a loan. Like the Braisa later on brings down, and it talks about a specific case of a loan, money of a loan. Elo vadai, rather must be that the chakirus and skirus, we're not talking about the money rental. Ela vada bishvil avlodois shioldo koma. We're talking about the babies that she gave birth to.
Not like the Rashbam.
According to the Rashbam, also the last part is why. So we have here Rashbam. And we have here Ritva that supports the Rashbam's Shita. That rental, the way I define rental, is a loan. Okay, it's very important because we're going to see big machlokes rishonim here. How do you define rental money? What is rental altogether? What's the process of debts? How does a loan work? It's not so simple. We're going to learn the next few days. What is it? Okay? But before we're going to dive into it deeper, I have to glance through the Gemara with you guys. There's a lot of material we didn't learn yet. Okay? Then we go back to it. We're going to see the Rabbeinu Yoino, the Toises, the Maram, Marsho, blah, 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 blah. We're going to see the Kivege, the Kovetzoros, Bezrat Hashem. There's a lot more to speak about. But we're not there yet. We have to learn the Gemara. So let's continue on the Gemara.
You have a stapler?
Let's continue on the Gemara. Okay. The Gemara continues. This is 2, 4, 6, 7 lines on the bottom. Kuf Chof Gimel, 7 lines on the bottom. Mukdoshim. Lav Dideinu. How can a firstborn son gets a double share in a sacrifice? Sanctified animal is not his, or sanctified thing is not his. The Gemara answers, Bekochim Kalim. We talk about like sanctified animals. What does it mean, Kochim Kalim? Kochim Kali means there is Kocha Kodoshim, holies of holies, sacrifices, like Oilo and Chatos. And you have Kochim Kali, which is like Shlomim, and Toido and Oshon, Nedorim, Nedoros. That's called Kochim Kali, a light sanctity. So the Gemara says, Mukdoshim Lavdideinin was not his. So the Gemara answers, Bekochim Kali Malibe de Rav Yoise Aglili. On what the firstborn son gets a double share, we talk about light sanctity. And according to Rabbi Yosef Aglili, the Omar that he says, Momon be'olimu. Rabbi Yosef Aglili holds that the money of, the value of light, kochim kali, which is like shlomim. Who eats shlomim? The owners, the koyanim, and the altar. Why is it called peace offering, shlamim? Because they make peace with everyone. Everyone gets a piece. So when anyone gets a share, there's peace with everyone. It's called Korban Shlamim. Kochim Kali. So the money, the food that the Koyanim are eating is called Mamon Ba'alim, who belongs to the owner. The Tanya, as we learned. Umoalo Malo Bashem, it says, a soul that rebel against Hashem. Also comes to tell you a case where I take and eat and steal and rob from light kochim kalim. Shen momoin be'olim belong. It's money of the owners. It's considered stealing. Yes. 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 The Gemara will say even more that it's only before Shechita. See. This comes to add to you a kochim kalim. Shen moment be'olim, that the money of the owners div Rabbi Saglim. Okay, let's see the Rashba. There's a long Rashbam here. We glance it through. It's not really a sugya, but we have to learn it. Mukdoshim lavdideininu kigon chatas v'ashomo is mechayim koche Hashem. Chatas and ashom, a sin offering and a guilt offering. While they're alive, is koche Hashem. And there is meila. They're stealing egdish from it. Kol zman shel nishcha, as long as it wasn't slaughtered. Aval shlomim, but a peace offering. And Memila, there's no stealing from heaven a peace offering. In our Shina, we learn from a drosha. Kodesh Hashem, sanctity of God. Kodesh Michodim Hashem, that sanctity that is designated to God. Yotzi Kodesh Kalim, to exclude light sanctity, which is like Shlomim. She'en Michodim Hashem, they're not totally designated to Hashem, because part of it, the Kohanim and the owners eat. Umiu Eino Mamoinoi, however, it's not totally his money. The Migdash Miakach, however, is not totally the owner's money because they are sanctified. But we don't call in them, we don't call them that a Bechor gets a double share, whatever is being found by the father's hands. Even they're being slaughtered. He could eat them. When they already slaughtered the animal, the owner can eat, the Kohanim can eat, it's not theirs. It's not the Kiddushin. As we learned in the second chapter of Kiddushin. A Kohen that marries a woman from his share in the animal, in the peace offering. Ben Bekochim Kachim, Ben Bekochim Kachim. It doesn't matter if it's Holy of Holies or Light Holies, which means Shlomi. Either way. Einem Kudesh is not sanctified. She's not married. The Misholchon Gavoyu come. Einem Kodesh is why? The Misholchon Gavoyu Kazoch, they're really eating from the table of heaven, of high. High means heaven. Umeshani bekochim kalim. The Moses says you're right. Kodesh Kodoshim belongs to. Kodesh Kodosh belongs to Hashem totally. Kochim kalim also belongs to Hashem while it's slaughtered. After Shechita. Oh, Umeshani Gemara answers that the case here is bekochim kalim mechaim, light kochim, like peace offering, but while it's alive. The Ave Mamon Rabbi Yossi, then it belongs to him according to Rabbi Yossi. So when it says a firstborn son gets a double share, means if the father had a kochim kodoshim or a friend of the father, whatever it is, Makir is going to have kochim kalim, light kochim, before it's slaughtered. And he died, the firstborn son gets a double share. However, after slaughtering, there's nothing what to give inheritance anymore. Because it doesn't belong to no one. It's not money of the owner, it's not the money of the owner. As the Gemara says, the first chapter of Bekama. What Rabbi Yossi says is his money while he's alive. After slaughtering, when they marry from the table of heaven. It never said there that it belongs to the Kohen. No. The Chika Zoch Gavo Zoch Omar never been said after Shechita. Because it belongs to heaven. Rabbi Yossi says, Rabbi Yossi says, the Kochim Kan before being slaughtered, it belongs to the owners. L'chol Dova varies anything. Even marry a woman with it is his. Which means if I have a korban shlomi before the slaughtering, it belongs to me, to the owners, or to the Be'olim, which have a share, to the Kohanim have a share. In their share, they're allowed to marry a woman with it. It's totally theirs. It's not holy yet.
Before Shechita?
As we went to the Braise?
Only before Shechita.
Only before B'Hashem lerabas kochim kalim shemamoinu shel boni v'Rabbi Saglim. I'm reading the Rashba. B'Hashem. It says in the pasuk, one who stole from Hashem. V'kichesh be'amita v'bikodem. One who denied the deposit. He denied his train with the deposit. V'kichesh bo, he denied it. V'nish ba'al shekri, he swore on false. V'chozar v'oido, he went back and he admit. V'evies hashoma, he has to bring his guilt offering. So it says the word Mola Bala Hashem, he stole from Hashem. The Rabos Kochim Kalim, this comes to add, this extra posuk comes to add Kochim Kalim, light sanctity. L'ischayev aleim oshom gzeilos, which means if somebody stole some Kochim Kalim before the being slaughtered, you're obligated to bring a guilt offering on it. It's called guilt offering of stealing, of robbing. Oshom gzeilos. Im kofar ben, if somebody denied the ownership of the owner of Kochim Kalim, v'nish v'avoid, and he took an oath and he admitted that he took an oath and false. Kesh'ar gezel moment, like any other stealing of money. Sharim amoy, because really this money, this animal belongs to the owner. Sha'abos avos shaloi, the meat and the skin belongs to the owner. Again, what's the case? We have an animal which is kochim kali, like a peace offering. That was a deposit by a person, and he denied the deposit. And he took an oath. It's as if he stole this money. What happened if you deny deposit of somebody's money, deposit where you deny it and take an oath? You have to bring a guilt offering. Like any stealing of any money, and he is stealing money. Why? Because the meat and the skin before it's been slaughtered belongs to the owner of the sacrifice. The hide, where's the hide? It means Hashem. The Beis Hamikdash doesn't have nothing in it then yet, before the slaughtering. Only Elo Imurim, only the Imurim. The Beis Hamikdash has their share Imurim. Vela Kohen Chosev Shoik, and the Kohen owns the chest and the femur. Uba Hashem uba Amita Kadorish. We dash in the word Ba'Hashem and his friend. Both. Dainu Shlom, you talk about peace offering that both have a share, God and his friend. Shaimurim Lashem. The fats belongs to God. Va'abosol abolim, and the meat belongs to the owners. So it means it belongs to Amito and Hashem. The Ach Meila, in this stealing, and this Meila stealing from God, the Oche here, Eino ela loshon shinu, is only a language of a change. He changed from his God. It says by Soito, woman that will stray away. It says the word she rebelled, she stole from him. Doesn't mean stealing. Or she changed. Doesn't mean that she steals from her husband. Same thing by Shlomim. There's no Mila by Shlomim before it's been slaughtered. The Mimil of Toras Kohanim, they excommunicated, they minimize it, they minimize it from a verse in Toras Kohanim. נכסים קודשי השם, ביניהם מן ההקדש גם במילה. When you enjoy Haggadah reference to Mila. It's only after the slaughtering. Before the slaughtering, there's no Mila. So Rashi spoke a lot. What did he say? The Rashbam. What the Rashbam is saying? He's saying the case of Mugdoshim is Kochim Kalim, Kote Rabbi Yossi, which money of the owners, so the firstborn son gets double share. We talk about Kochim Kalim before it being slaughtered. That's basically what he says. So then it belongs to the owners, even to Mekadesh Yishu. Okay. The Gemara continues. This is what we care about. What is our subject now? I'm reading now 2, 4, 5 lines on the bottom. I'm continuing the Gemara, very important. Mucho importante. Bear with me, because we're going to spend the next week or two on this. Please. It says in the Mishnah, we talk about now 5 lines on the bottom. The father died and he left the children a cow, muchkeres umuskeres, leased or rented, biyad acherim, in the hands of others. Or the animal was gazing in the field. V'yolda, and she gave birth. Bechol notel pishnayim, firstborn son gets a double share. This is a quote of the Braisa we learned. The Gemara now wants to investigate that quote. Ashta muskeres muchkeres da b'rshus the morad didu kaima. Now if I have lease or rental, which is not in the domain of the master, la b'rshus the morad didu kaima, is not standing in the domain of its master. Amalt yet the Brisa says, Shokil, the firstborn son gets a double share. Roya be'efer, if the animal shepherds in the field, mi boy is not needed to say that even closer is more control of the father. Surely the firstborn son will get a double share. If something is not in his hands, as rental or lease, is not in the father's hand, it's still considered the father's mukzah, and the firstborn son will get a double share. Surely, if it's in gazing in the field, surely it's more of control of the father, because nobody else is on control of it. So it's not needed to say that the firstborn son will get a double share. What do you want to say? His own field. Not his own field. Public's field. Efkin. Efkin. So the Gemara answers, Hokamashma. This is the Chiddush of the Brisa. The Muchkeres u'Muskeres, if it's a lease or a rental, Dumya Doroi Be'efer is the same case of shepherding in the field. Maro Be'efer, same way that if she shepherded in the fields, Shvocha D'Imela Kosi, it's a shvach that comes by itself. They're not losing any money in it, any spending any food on it. Av muchkeres u'muskeres, shvocha demimele kosi. It's also we talk about a shvach that comes by itself. There was no loss of money. What does that mean? Same way, Roy Be'efer, it's a shvach that came by itself, the being born of the baby. When she's gazing in the field, the shvach came by itself, and I didn't lose any money for the food, because she was gazing. The baby became strong and bigger for free. So therefore, it's in the control of the father. Same thing as muchkeres and muskeres, rental or a lease or rental. It's shvach in the mail, it's a shvach by itself. The lokosi, the lokosa b'mezoni, he didn't lose any food on it. So from here, in this language of the Gemara, the Rabbeinu Shmuel and the Ritva learned that it's the same case. Both talk about a baby being born. And one is, I rent it out and the renter gives the food. So although it's not in my domain, but I want to learn from there that I didn't spend money to feed it. The fatness didn't come from me. So therefore it's by itself. It's coming by itself. So therefore the firstborn son will inherit it, because if it came by itself, the fatness, so therefore it's as if the father's holding it. And if the father's holding it, the firstborn son will get a double share. Same thing as rental or lease. The shvach comes by itself. Which shvach? So the Rabbeinu Ritva and the Rabbeinu Shmuel learned to have a baby too. Also they're talking about a baby. It's shvach d'mimeila, and I didn't lose any money to feed it. Yet I get a double share. Mani Rebbe, this law of the Mishnah is only according to Rebbe. Chachomim argue. The Tanya we learned in the Brisa. It's very important, much important. En abechon noitel pishnayim b'shvach shashov l'chosim l'agmis asavim. The Brisa says a statement. A firstborn son does not take a double share in added value of assets after the death of the father. Rebbe argues. Oimer ani, I say. Rebbe says, I say. Bechor noitel pishnayim. It's my opinion that the firstborn son does get the double share. Beshvach sheshofru nechosim l'agmizavim. Shvach that was added value after the death of the father because it came by itself. It's still considered in the control of the father. It's not holy, it's muchzah. Avaloi beshvach sheshvichu l'agmizavim. But not added value that the orphans created. Like they planted houses, they planted trees, or orchard, or they built houses. There they don't get a share. But if it came by itself, even though after the death of the father, Rebbe says you do get a double share, and Chacham say no. So our Braisa, the previous Braisa, which is a Tosefta, according to this Gemara, is only according to Rebbe, not according to Chacham. The Braisa continues and explains. Yoshu Shtarchov. If the father died and he gave inheritance to the kids, a debt, document of debt, means somebody owes him money. The Braisa says, the firstborn son, noitel bishnayim, he takes double share. Now this last part of the Braisa is not clear. Is it Rebbe continues speaking, or Chachamim here admit that by a loan is considered that it's to come by itself? If you have a shtar, if you have a document, it's like Kigav whatever it is, and therefore even Chachamim agree that you get a double share. It's not clear. So Machlokes is the Gemara later on. Yotza alem shtar choiv. If the father died and documents of debt came on the father, which means the father died with debts, and there's documents against it, he owes money. So then the same thing. Bechor noite b'shnayim, the firstborn son has to pay double. You not only get double, you have to pay double.
That's fair.
You took double shares.
That's fair.
You paid double the debt.
You have more of the proportions, so you have to pay your share.
Take and pay it.
What if there was no inheritance and just a chol?
What?
What if there was only a chol, no inheritance?
That happens a lot, by the way. If there's only a debt, the son does not need to pay the father's debt. Only from his assets. Very important. The father doesn't need to pay, the son does not need to pay the father's debts. Only from his assets. I had a case about a year ago, half a year ago. I started to get letters. I got phone calls that people took loans at Meitzad 30 years ago. The Amanah gave out loans, the government kind of, gave out loans, 70% became a gift, and 25% became a loan for 20 years. Or 25 years. 25 years. And after 25 years, you have to pay 25%. So everybody in the Yishuv went and took borrowed loans. Some of the loans was for Meitzad. They bought a tractor. They put grass. I don't know what they did with it. Some of the crazy things. I don't know, health center. Who knows what? Different ideas how to bring money to Meitzad. But 25 years later passed. And they ask you for the money. And nobody's paying. And now nobody's paying, started to collect the ribis. You know what ribis? Ribit means interest. Boom, 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 boom. And not only that, the rule was if you don't pay after 25 years, the 25%, you have to pay 100% plus ribis. Woo-hoo. What? Yes. And they're running after those old guys. They used to be in the Yeshiva. Meitzah, by Miller, Rabbi Abrams, Granitsky, I don't know who was, Ponak, I don't know, right? Rabbi Yosef. Running after everyone. And the question was, do I need to pay the debt? So I said, Meitzah should pay it. Right? I need to pay it. Meitzah needs to pay it. Went to Meitzah. But who was Meitzah? So it used to be the Yeshiva, but not anymore. Now they're run by a group of who knows. So, the mice didn't know what to do. I decided I would pay for it. So I had a big nest that Amir Ben Yehuda is one of the children of the student of the yeshiva. He used to learn here too. He used to learn with me every Monday
It comes from the last couple of weeks, it's coming during the Shabbos.
Right. So he came here to learn Torah, and he had some connection, and he knew the value of it. And he knew the head guy of Almanah, and they cut off all the 75% and all the ribis, but the 25% you had to pay. It was a big list. So I paid it.
That's what David needs to have done.
What?
That's what David needs done.
Who is David?
Ohana. That's what Ohana needs. His father.
Yes.
His father.
So anyhow, that's a story. So the yeshiva paid it all. Paid all those debts. It was hundreds of thousands. Yes, Rabbi Yosef, I paid it all. I paid Shabtai, Abrams, Yosipona, Glazer, Yaninsky, a whole list of people. He paid it all, Baruch Hashem. But it was a big ness that Amir ben Yehuda knew the head of what you call the head of Amanah. He lives in this area, he knows him. You know why he took off all the ribis and all that? Amir ben Yehuda convinced, he says, listen, really, the rabbi's son doesn't have to pay for it. Because the Meitzah, that's Yeshiva left Meitzah. Doesn't have to pay for it. You don't have to pay a debt. First of all, who says the debt of my father? But let's say it is. Some of it is, some of it wasn't. I know the details. I'm not speaking much. I know what went to what, but some of it didn't go for whatever it is. But it doesn't matter. But the point is, he told them, listen, you don't have to pay for it. So it should be a Kiddush Hashem. Look, he doesn't want to have people involved with Tzibur to get hurt. So it's a big Kiddush Hashem. He should be happy that he's paying for it. And the guy was so impressed that the SPC was willing to pay for it. And he took off all the 75% and all the ribis out. And you just had to pay 25. You lived it, right, Rabbi Yosef? They ran after you. It started with him. Anyhow, whatever the story is. So what are we learning here? That the son doesn't need to pay the father's debts unless the father leaves assets. He doesn't leave assets, doesn't he? Doesn't need to pay for it. Now, you got what?
I got a phone call from a very old friend, Michael. Remember him?
Sure.
Yeah, he's coming off the sun here in a couple of days. He just called me.
Mazel tov, is he calling you for another loan? Another debt?
No.
I get scared. I said, I thought the context means there's another debt here. Okay, Baruch Hashem.
I told him to come to the Yeshiva, to visit the Yeshiva.
Good, Baruch Hashem. So let's continue on. There's a machloikes between Rebbe and Chachomim when you have a shvach that came after the death of the father, Mimele, which is the Mishnah, rental, babies, machloikes Rebbe and Chachomim. According to Chachomim, shvach shashov nechosim, lacha misas avim, shvach the Mimele comes by itself. After the death of the father, the firstborn son does not get a revolution because the father's not muchzak on it. Enough. But according to Rebbe, no. Since it's Mimele, as if he's holding it, and since he didn't spend money to feed it, etc., and it's Mimele, is considered a shvach that the father was muchzak on, and the firstborn son gets a double share. What's the halacha? The halacha is like Chachomim. So all we learned up till now is according to Rebbe, not halacha. According to Chachomim, the halacha is not Chachomim. Now, alone, the last part of the Braisa says alone, firstborn son gets a double share in a loan. He has to pay a loan, he has to get a double share. But if he says, I don't want to take, I don't want to give. Don't get me to take and pay. Leave it alone. There's money being owed and debt being owed. I don't want. I don't want to collect a loan, and I don't want to pay debts. So it's Rasha, he's allowed. He says, I don't want my double share because that's just too complicated. First, I'll be happy taking double share. and there's loans, and I pay again, and then suddenly there's debts coming in, and I have to pay all those debts. Who knows what's coming up? The hell with it. I don't deal with it with lawyers and back and forth. I just don't want it. I don't deal with it. Forget about it. How much only be left? Who knows? After negotiation, forget about it.
But it's actually.
So I don't want the hassle and the headache. He's allowed.
But it's actually the proper thing to do because that double share should.
No, because only the Gemara explained because only a double share is considered a gift. If it was inheritance, automatically you inherit her. You cannot reduce yourself being inheriting. Then there's a continuation. But since it's a maton or a gift, you can separate yourself from it. I don't want the gift and I don't want the debts of the gifts.
And that goes right in.
I don't want rights and I don't want debts. Just leave me alone. But anyhow, now this last part.
That would go right in line with what the purpose of the double share is.
Yes.
The firstborn
Yes. Yes. Right. Now the last part of a loan, the Gemara has a discussion: is a machlokes ben chacham on it or not? Or even chacham agree that a loan is such a considered, because since the loan has a shtar, it's like govui, as being collected, even chacham will agree that that's considered a father muchzak. He's holding it as if he's holding it, and the firstborn son will get double share. Now the Gemara in the next 6, 7, 8 lines explains and psukim the argument between Rebbe and Chacham, which is very important, but we don't have time. Tomorrow we have to learn it. And I jump a couple of pieces here. One Rashbam and Toyses. We have to go all back. But first I want to glance through the ideas before we go go on it, and start going in depth how it works here. Okay? Rabbi Hanania ben Akashioy. Rotza Kadosh Baruch Hu, Nezak V'Shis Yisrael.